Hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Coach Chindah Chindah. Welcome to Married Life Management Thursday discussion and show. And I'm excited that you guys are here today. Thank you so much. And I believe that you're here with an open heart to learn. If you don't mind, can I know if you can hear me? If you can put on the chat, let me just know you can hear me. I'm getting a bit of an echo. Let me know if you can hear me. Just put on the chat if you can hear me clearly. Just want to make sure you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly? Loud and clear. Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm excited that you're here today. What we're having today is quite important and is something which I believe goes a long way to help marriages to be better in these days. Well, before I dive in, I just want to know how your day was and how you are feeling, your family, how was work, business, your purpose, whatever you're doing. Can you just put on the chat for me? Let me know how you're feeling today. Are you tired? Are you pumped? Are you positive? What is it exactly that you can summarize your day so far? Some people it's morning, some people in the afternoon, some in the evening, some people in the night, or early hours of the morning. So let me just know. And please try to share this. And if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead. Those watching on Facebook, we appreciate your time here. And I appreciate you wanting to learn, wanting to grow. So please share this with your friends and family. But let's just know from the chat just to make sure that you're with us and your day has been great. So put on the chat for me. Let me know how your day has been. Energetic. I think mine has been busy and productive. Let me put that. Busy and productive. Yeah, busy and productive. Yes, that's how my day has been. Busy and productive. Okay, but I appreciate your time. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So today is quite an interesting conversation that I believe we all need to have. Okay, it's an interesting conversation that I believe we all need to have. And if it's a conversation that we all need to have, then we have to just pay attention to have those conversations because they go a long way to change the dynamics of our relationships and our marriages. And that's exactly what we need to do today, building communication skills in marriage, building communication skills in marriage. That's what we want to talk about. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to learn something out of it today. And hopefully, it will influence the way we communicate and the way we share things in our relationships and in our marriages with our significant other. I want to begin by saying, why is this? Why is this a challenge? Why is it becoming a challenge to build a strong communication skill in our marriages today? As a marriage coach, I know that communication is one of the biggest challenges that many couples face. And if you that is watching today, I believe that you also will agree with me that communication is critical and absolutely important in our relationships. Now, whether you communicate verbally or you communicate via non-verbal, whichever way you communicate in your relationship. Can you imagine being in a marriage where you don't communicate properly? Can you imagine being in a marriage where you cannot share freely? Can you be can you imagine being in a marriage where you are not able to be yourself and to freely share things from your heart? You cannot do it in a way that it doesn't end up with argument or blame or shouting or screaming or somebody doesn't even want to pay attention, somebody doesn't want to listen, or you are constantly being interrupted in the communication. which now prolong some of the problems and the challenges that we face. I want to make this section to be very practical. Okay, so if you want to get back to me via the chat, that is great. But I want you to look at your marriage and look at your relationship. If you're not married, look at how you communicate with your intending partner or even those around you. And if you're married, just think about how you communicate with your spouse, how you share, and how you're able to do that from a place where you want to be understood and you want to exchange informations that make sense and that the other person will be able to value your time of sharing. But there's something I've discovered in today's world and a lot of marriages. Why is it difficult today in building healthy communication skills in our relationships, in our marriages, or with those around you? Why is it difficult? Because this is one of the hallmark that makes our relationship alive, that changes how we feel and how we want to be addressed and how we want to be loved. You cannot be in a relationship where you don't communicate freely and openly and sincerely, and where you communicate without any fear of judgment, criticism, or someone trying to make you feel worthless. Why is it becoming very challenging today to build such kind of communication level? Now, you might be in a state where occasionally this happens, or your own is constant inability to truly communicate with your spouse freely or with the intending partner, or your own might be it's okay. But regardless of which state you are in your communication journey, there's something to learn today. But I want you to have an open mind as we have this conversation. I want you to have an open mind as we have the discussion today, because it's critically important that we sincerely share and we sincerely open our hearts to learn. So if you want to send this to your husband, to your wife, to your intended partner, or you know somebody that will benefit from this intense class, I could call it a master class because we're going to be very practical about things. And if you want to ask any question, please put on the chat and I'll be able to respond back to you. So I'm asking, why is this difficult today? Because the world is so fast-paced. Many things are happening around us. And so many things are trying to grab our attention in our marriage, in our relationship. Why is it becoming difficult to build strong communication skill? Why? I've taken time to think about it carefully, and there are a couple of things that I've identified. Number one, we are in a digital distraction world. You might think because we have smartphones, we have social medias, we have all these devices, these digital devices, you would have thought that relationships from a communication standpoint will be better. In fact, will be hugely improved. But because we lack the ability to actually manage these devices, manage these items we have, and also manage this social environment that is constantly notifying us about sales, about emails, about agendas, about to-do lists, about all sorts of things. You would have thought we even be more organized in such a way that we can communicate meaningfully. But it is challenging, even with all these things that would have made us communicate better. We are digitally distracted because our attentions are divided from actually having heart to heart and empathic conversations with our spouse, where you are going to be so vulnerable and deep and uninterrupted as you communicate with your spouse and have a real dialogue, not a monologue, dialogue. I know that we have social friends on social medias. I know that we have friends that we can send emails to. We can have a couple of chats on Snapchat, on Instagram, on Facebook, or TikTok, or whatever means you're using to socialize online. Because you have all these friends online, very faceless most of the time, and you have this hi, hello, this, that, I want to buy this and all that. We are thinking we're actually in the communication arena we're actually in a communication environment. Those things, some could lead to deeper conversations after this platform or out of this platform, but most of the times they are very surface, they are very artificial, they are very temporal. They don't provide that deep connection that you would have had. So because you're having these conversations and chatting and replying on Facebook and replying on different social media sites, does not necessarily mean that you are having a good communication skill with your spouse. Sometimes we're even so concentrated, busy with contacts online than the physical contact that we have in front of us. So you spend more time talking on social media sites than you actually speak to your spouse. Sometimes even your spouse is trying to share, but you don't have the time because you want to reply a notification. You want to get involved in this. You want to get involved in that. So you are so clouded with all sorts of digital distraction. And at the end of the day, you have not had some real meaningful conversation with your spouse, real meaningful conversation with the person you want to marry. Everything is just so surface, so short-lived. And this endorphins you get from all these interactions online, you are replacing your real, meaningful, deep, vulnerable conversation with your spouse with all these things you do online. And then you wonder why you are not having deep conversation with the person that is most significant in your life, which is your spouse, and sometimes the person you want to get married to. So digital distraction is a reality, and it's something that we must constantly comb, we must constantly fight against. Otherwise, we are going to be so distracted that every day, every week, every month, we are constantly in that trap of non-communication in our relationships. Another reason that I have found that makes a lot of people not to build healthy communication with their spouse is time constraint. If you understand modern lifestyle, you will know how challenging it is. Often you see spouse, they will say they don't have limited time, they don't have quality time together. So everything they are talking about is rushed. All right, they rush their conversations, they rush what they say, they rush what they want to talk about. So everything is rush, 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 rush. They rarely dive into important topics. Sometimes the topics are so shallow, they are so ephemeral, they are not really creating that intimacy that they are longing for. So everything is just so superficial, and they don't create time. Sometimes it's work. So the work consume them. That's number three. The work and stress consume the husband, consume the wife because of the demanding jobs, the deadlines, and these daily stressors that is coming from their work can hinder effective communication in your marriage. And it's important that you are aware that your work can be against your marriage. This work you love so much, this work you're so excited that you have, can literally create a lot of worries and problems and trouble with you and your spouse simply because you are replacing time with your wife, time with your husband, time in the family with work. Everybody's going to say, well, does it mean that we shouldn't work? I didn't say so. But there are other people that are working that have been able to balance work. Most work is 9 to 5, right? Occasionally you can have spillover. But when you have constant spillover of work that is so stretched, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, now how can you tell me that your work respects your marriage? How can you tell me that your work respects the boundaries that you're supposed to set? How can you tell me that the work respects the quality time you're supposed to have with your spouse? So let's not use our work as a tool to destroy what we have, because work creates some real stress. Sometimes you're so tired, sometimes you're so frustrated because of the project isn't working very well, and then the whole thing is just all over the place, and you don't plan your time properly, And every evening, every week, you are constantly working, and you are busy with work, busy business, chasing this, chasing that. And then your wife is just looking at you like a lifeless human being. The husband is wondering, did I marry work or did I marry this woman? So these things can be a real issue, a real problem. Don't allow work to stop you from communicating with your spouse. Number 4, expectations versus reality. Now, most couples have unrealistic expectations from media portrayals of this perfect relationship. Sometimes it can create gap in your mind, and then you can become unreasonable sometimes, become unrealistic sometimes, and you forget about empathy with your spouse. So because you are expecting that you're going to be busy on certain things and you will not really do this or that, but when it comes to reality, you realize that things are just taking your time and you're not able to fully focus. So those daily interactions you're supposed to have with your spouse, they are minute cues that can support you. Those touching, holding hands, okay, those sharing, those trying to send a text message, a call, FaceTimes, WhatsApp videos, all those little things that you should try to build into your relationship. But because you are so distracted, you don't do it. Sometimes you used to do it when you started in your early days of marriage. But now you have come to this expectation that it's not required. It's no longer. We already know ourselves. What's the big deal about all these things? It's dangerous. This is not good for your relationship. Number 5, why is difficult to build good communication skills with your spouse or the one you want to get married to is conflict avoidance. A lot of spouses are fearful of arguments that can create discomfort, disconnect, pain in their mind, or possible triggers and traumas. So they don't want to do anything about communication, so they suppress the thoughts they would have shared. They suppress the emotions they would have shared. So to prevent open and honest conversation, because previously they've had a conversation that escalated into some real tense argument, name calling, and real problem. So they are now judged constantly about whatever they raise. So the wife is afraid to speak up. The husband is afraid to speak up because they are always meet with opposition of anything that is uncomfortable they will receive. So they just say, you know what? I don't want problem. I don't want trouble. I don't want anything. But you know that you're not happy. You know that there are things that you need to resolve. So because you don't want someone to shout or scream or someone to say anything or someone to abuse you or whatever it is, you just avoid. And yet you're suppressing emotions. Now, whether you're watching me or you're going to watch me in replay, there are thoughts, there are emotions, there are conversations you want to have with your husband and your wife or the person you want to get married to, but you've just not been able to say anything because you are feeling that anytime you have this conversation, they will misunderstand you. And because of that, you don't even want to share anymore. You are holding back. You are holding back. That can create serious difficulties in your relationship. Right? Now, this other one is communication styles. Another one is communication styles. Differences in communication styles, such as, partner being more direct. They don't have mercy. They don't have grace. They just hit you like face to face. And then the other one is more indirect. This thing can lead to misunderstanding. Some other people communication style is just aggressive. The other people are passive. The other people are just passive aggressive. Now, other people, they are very assertive, confident, they want to share. And then because they are so bold in sharing, and then the other person just don't want to have any confrontation, they just hide. So if you do not understand your communication styles and find a way to build alignment and compatibility within your relationship, you will continue to run away when somebody that is more confident and bold speaks, and then you will just fidget and hide in the cave. Communication style can become an issue, but you need to know which one is which within the relationship. While I was thinking about this YouTube Live and Married Life show today, I thought about cultural and gender norms. Cultural and gender norms. I've been thinking about this so lately, and I realized that in some cultures, women are not supposed to talk. Some societal norms and can really influence communication patterns, making it even difficult for somebody to share freely. Some traditional roles and expectation. A woman is not supposed to talk when the man is talking. A woman is not supposed to share this and all that and all that. So all these traditional roles and traditional norms, sometimes they hinder communication. And then when you try to speak and you're not happy, sincerely, you want to talk about something is bothering you and you want to share freely. But because of these traditional norms and because of these gender norms and gender this and gender that, you are not able to be free to be yourself. So these things can be a problem. The question is, in your marriage and in your relationship right now, is gender and cultural norms a problem? Is it hindering you to be free and to be yourself? What about emotional baggage? Every one of us, in one form or the other, we have emotional baggage. Now, most of the millennials have emotional baggage. Let's not even go into the X generation and the baby boomers. Emotional baggage. Every average person has an emotional baggage in one form or the other. The problem is that most people do not even agree they have emotional baggage. But you could see the emotion displaying in their marriage, in their relationship. Unresolved past issues and maybe sexual traumas, childhood traumas, work traumas, pain traumas, funeral traumas, and disaster traumas, and failure traumas, all sorts of traumas out there. And you know that this thing is hindering you from being vulnerable, from your spouse seeing you as you are. And that hinders you from being open. And because of that, you're not able to share your feelings properly. Sometimes, even when you share your feelings, they are so disjointed, they're so dysfunctional, they are not coherent, they are not articulated, and it's all over the place. Why? Because your baggage is controlling how you express yourself. And this can be a big issue. So I think it's important for us to sit down and just look at what is making us act the way we are acting. What is making us say what we say? What is making us do what we do? And then let's look at our past experiences and some of the uncomfortable and painful times of our lives. For the past 40 years, you have been in the world, 60 years, 100 years, it doesn't matter. And just address it. Name the emotion that caused pain. Some of us have some real childhood emotions. We have not even dealt with them. We're just carried away in the spirit, and yet the soul which carries the emotions, we have not really addressed this emotional pain. Some people pain is probably from their in-laws. Some of them is from their father, their mother, their brother, their sister, their colleagues, their work, their boss. And the pain is real. Though you say you are forgiven, but you know that this thing comes upon you and you lose your peace, you lose your happiness, you're not able to be yourself. How long are you going to continue like this? So you need to deal with that emotional baggage. Otherwise, you cannot speak properly. Some people, aggressiveness is because of unresolved emotional baggages in their lives. They've not resolved that issue with their mother. They've not resolved that issue with their father. They've not resolved that issue with their uncles and nieces. They've not resolved a lot of issues, and they're just there, carrying baggage from one place to the other. You greet them in the morning, is Mrs. Emotional Baggage, Mr. Emotional Baggage. They go to school, emotional baggage. They're at work, emotional baggage. They are cooking, emotional baggage. They are sleeping, emotional baggage. Everything about their life, emotional baggage. Emotional baggage just, parading, controlling, and dominating their lives. You have to fix it. Otherwise, to build communication skills, going to be an issue. Other people are lack of personal growth. Lack of personal growth. it's important we know that we change over time. Everyone is going to change in one way or the other. The biggest challenge that I have seen lately in marriage and relationship, why some marriages are so toxic, some marriages are just full of issues and problems, is because the people in the marriage came into the marriage with a fixed mindset. They did not come into the marriage to learn. Can you imagine? They don't read, they don't go for classes, they're not even looking at themselves in the mirror. Everything about them is blaming their husband, blaming their wife, blaming their in-law, blaming. They never see themselves in the mirror. Now tell me, how would that person change and get better? So if you're not growing and you're still struggling with some things in your life, you're not able to work on your weaknesses and your strength, that could be an issue. Another reason is fear of vulnerability. Do you know that some people shared, truly, some wives have really shared about their lives, and some husbands have really shared about their lives to their spouses or to the person they want to marry. But anytime there is misunderstanding, they will take this thing that happened to their husband, to that happened to their wife, and they will just bash it in front of this spouse that is trying to express themselves, because they know that if they can use this their past, this ugly mistake, ugly baggage, and they just use it and hit back, the other one will just be weak. And that is a form of controlling, demanding. That's a form of narcissism, to be honest. It's just the strategic narcissism, using somebody's past that is not very great to win an argument, to overcome them, to suppress them. Sometimes you are having an issue, and the person that you are trying to communicate the issue to, your husband or your wife or your intending spouse, and you know that they are actually at fault. But because they are somehow very manipulative, they are very good in crafting ways to make you feel victimized, to make you feel judged, criticized, to make you feel worthless. They will pull out your past. You know, the abortion you committed, the sex you had before, the pornography stuff, the thing you stole, when you went to prison, the thing you did. They just bring all these things and they just use it and say some nasty stuff. And then you are weak. You can't even talk. And then because of that, you can't even share anything again. So sharing now, you are afraid. You are hiding under your insecurities. You're trying to protect yourself when, you know, there's a lot of personal struggles. So vulnerability has vanished. You're not comfortable. You're not safe in the hand of your spouse. I want to say that when your spouse is no longer safe in your hand, it's a very challenging thing, because we're supposed to be safe. We're supposed to be comfortable with the person that we're married to. So this is very, very important. Lack of vulnerability, which is due to fear of vulnerability, because they will be judged, can make people not to open up and not to share. Okay. And then the other one is lack of education. You see, what we're doing now is we're learning about communication skills. We're learning about communication style. We're learning how to be better as we converse and talk and find a way to build healthy and connected relationships. But there are people that wouldn't want to watch this. There are people that wouldn't want to learn. There are people that don't even want to read. They don't want to go for any marriage course on communication. They don't want to get involved in anything. But guess what? They complain the most. They condemn the most. They criticize and they judge the most. They are able to find fault the most. But yet, personal education and personal awareness about communication and knowing when to close their mouth, when to open, what words to use, not cutting, piercing, and destructive words. Such kind of people in their state, they are difficult spouse, really, really difficult to deal with. So, to overcome these challenges, couples just need to understand that they need to make up their mind to find a way to either seek professional help or do workshops, read books, get involved, get accountable partners, be open to learning. Don't close up learning. Some adults, since they graduated from school, since they came out of formal education, they have stopped learning. The moment you stop learning, you start dying. Your marriage will start dying when you stop learning things that can move your marriage forward. Learning changes, transforms you. It makes you to be adaptable. It makes you flexible. It gives you wisdom and understanding to cope and deal with complexities and challenges in your relationship. But because you don't have that ability, you will realize that things are going to be very difficult and tough if you do not find a way to change the dynamic of that marriage and relationship. So we have seen why it's difficult. And I've tried to carefully look at ways these things are affecting our communication life. You are watching and you're going to watch this in replay. Don't just look at this as one of those lectures. Which one is affecting your relationship? Which one is your own major concern? Don't just look at this and just walk away. What can you do to change things? What can you do to make things better? Because it's very, very important that you find a way to deal with things that can continuously distract you or make you not to work effectively with your spouse. Otherwise, things will just become challenging. So let's now look at exactly how do we now build this effective communication skill in marriage. We have seen things that can distract us, seen things that can hold us back. But how do we develop our existing communication level? Because this communication is a big deal in our marriage and relationship. We want our marriage to be stable, strong, and satisfying. We want it to be cordial and free of any form of abuse, mentally, physically, spiritually, and otherwise. Communication is critical. So, how do you build communication that can draw you guys together and make your marriage stronger? I'll give you a few points. Number one is active listening. I don't know why when people mention listening, they think all listening is the same. We have passive listening and have active listening. And we have no listening at all. If you are sharing something or someone is sharing something with you and they are distracted, they are not focused, they're not paying any attention to what you are saying or to the person speaking, please, how on earth can you say that you actually actively listen to what they're saying? Your spouse is sharing something, your eyes is on TV, your eyes is on your mobile phone, your eyes are somewhere, you're not even focusing, and you just wonder why. And do you know that to be an active listener is intentional? You don't become an active listener by chance, by not making any effort. It's an intentional thing you must do. So when your spouse is sharing anything or anybody around you, how do you practice this? Whenever anybody is sharing something with you, just be active in your thought, in your mind, in everything about you. Just focus, maybe a couple of minutes. This is how you begin to know when to talk and when not to talk. But first, listen with your heart. Don't just listen with your head. Listen with your heart. Try to know what exactly is going on. And if you listen with your heart, then number two, you have to provide empathic responses. Why is it that when some people respond after you talk to them, it's very aggressive response? It's very painful response. Sometimes you literally do not want them to speak because they just pour out venom, poison, words. That's to tell you they never listen with their heart. They listen with their ear, their head. So they are not putting themselves in your shoe. Hence, they are able to respond in a way that is not empathic. So when they share with you, try to validate their emotions. Try to show that you understand by even asking them back, paraphrasing it, trying to just forget about yourself, forget about your responses, forget about what you want to share. Just make sure you understand what your spouse is saying. Make sure you understand what somebody in you or in front of you is saying, because that's the only way you will know how to respond. And then if you understand by putting yourself in their shoe from what they are saying to you, let's say for instance they express frustration about their work. To be empathic in your responses, you could say things like, I can see why you feel this way. That sounds really tough. Now you have put yourself in their shoe. Your responses shows empathy. So you listen actively with your heart to exchange responses that shows that you understood what they said, and also that you are putting yourself in their shoe. You feel their emotions, you feel their pain, and then you respond based on their own state, not just what you want to say, because most time what you want to say is not what they want to hear. So how do you go around showing that you are empathic? Is by responding from understanding their emotions. Number three, that's what we call the I statement. Most times when you are frustrated about anything in a marriage relationship, the next thing you do is to say, you did this, you never did this, you are always doing this, you. So you are directly blaming, and you are avoiding defensiveness. You are just putting blame, and you are really, really looking for serious trouble when you do that. So why, instead of always using that word, you never helped me, you never do this, you never did that, why can't you say, maybe I feel overwhelmed with the housework sometimes? You are expressing how you feel about overload housework in the house. You're overwhelmed. Now the person listening will know that actually you are overwhelmed and you have been working so hard. So I think it's important for them to respect and to understand where you are coming from in relation to this, isn't it? So that is why you must entirely learn how to use certain pronouns so that you don't trigger unnecessary conflict in your relationship. Number four is timing. No, timing matters a lot. If you think about, sometimes you've tried to share things to your husband, to your wife, you've tried to share things with your husband, to your wife, but you realize that they're not paying any attention because they're not just at that mood, they're not right there. Because you are just speaking to them, maybe they're coming back from work, they're so tired, they're so confused, or you can see that they're hungry. There's something just not right. Why don't you choose a moment that is better so that you can avoid this unnecessary lack of attention when you speak? You need to be sensitive with the time that you want to share whatever you want to share. Even sometimes, depending on the kind of thing you want to share, you also need to think about the timing as well. The other thing is non-verbal cues. You see, there's a way somebody will pay attention to another person's body language, and you can easily know from their tone that they're not happy, they're angry, or they're frustrated, they're sad, they're going through something, but they're not saying a word. As someone that is wise, that understands non-verbal cues about communication, you will know that there's something is up, and then you know how to deal with that. You know how to talk to them about that thing. But if you do not even know how to observe body language of your wife and your husband or those in your relationship, how are you able to even support them? How can you help them? Because you have no clue on what they are going through. Okay. The other one again that I must really, really emphasize is avoid assumption. Sometimes couples, they come to me and they say, he's supposed to know. She's supposed to know. Well, I don't know about that. Even if they're supposed to know, do you think that they will know all things because they are not God? You think they're going to understand all things? No, that's not possible. So there's nothing wrong clarifying to help them understand so that you don't allow them to just remain in that misconception status. And at the end of the day, you are not happy that they are not doing this, they are not doing that, but you haven't even said anything. You just assume that they know. So avoid every form of assumptions and just be real and practical with your spouse at any time, at any place, because it goes a long way to support your marriage and relationship to be better. And the other one I also see in building a communication skill that lasts and that is healthy is when you disagree, do it with respect. That means respectfully disagree. So don't disagree with disrespect and or making them feel that they are unwanted, disregard them, or use some words that is so mean. We cannot always see eye to eye, but we can understand the challenges behind each person's thought. And sometimes you can disagree to agree just for peace to reign. Doesn't change anything. So it's very, very important that we understand this. And one good one is regular check-ins. Remember, I said avoid assumption whatsoever. Don't assume they know this, they know that. Set aside time just to openly talk about your relationship and how things are happening and how they are going about it. So look for ways to support them and to build them up because this is very, very important if you want to keep and preserve your relationship to be healthy and strong. Set aside time to regularly check in. What can I do for you today? How was our conversation? Is there anything that is bothering you? Is there anything you want to share with me? Give them opportunity to even share. Go to them and make them be themselves so they can open up to you. These are practical ways that your relationship can begin to see a different level of intimacy and connection. You might be asking me, what if I do all these things and nothing happens? What if I do all these things and nothing is changing? Well, I'm going to answer you later. But just out of what we have just shared, let's say, for instance, you want to take an active listening day. Just choose a day and just say, maybe just 5 minutes, and just tell your spouse to share whatever they want to share, whether it's work achievement or what has happened at work, about their life, about the marriage, whatever it is. You will just listen. You're not going to say anything. And then try to interpret what they have said to ensure that you actually understand them. So you listen actively without interrupting them or offering any advice. You just listen. And both of you take turns. You do this on a regular basis, once a day, 5 minutes. The problem is that we have 5 minutes, but most couples find it difficult to actually use that family 5 minutes judicially. So it's very, very important that you ensure that you just practice active listening. There's nothing wrong there. Another one that could take you 5 minutes to do just to help your communication skill is spend 5 minutes each sharing how you have been feeling about this relationship and how you believe things should go. And both of you just explore your feelings, happiness, sadness, this and that, which is also very, very important. And that can keep you strong and better. And then another one is uninterrupted talk. This is where one partner speaks for 5 minutes without interruption while the other actively listens. And you can take turns. You might want to share things like your childhood memories or where you guys went on holiday or what happened last week, whatever it is. But just share and take turns without anybody interrupting. But try to understand what they are saying because that is really, really important. So when you do that, you begin to find a way to be more better in how you relate. There's one that I call the problem solving section. Find a minor issue, find a challenge that you can brainstorm together to find solution. By brainstorming together to find solution over that thing, you're already building a good communication skill and you're finding a way to build your home. So this is very, very critical. If you just start practicing it, it takes 5-10 minutes, but it will go a long way to impart your relationship and make things even better. But what if you've tried all this and you come and say, oh, it's not working. Oh, I've tried. Oh, this man doesn't want to listen. Oh, this woman doesn't want to listen. And I'm just tired. I cannot continue anymore. Well, I want you to understand something. Communication that works, communication that is connected, doesn't come cheap. You need some training. You need to do some exercises around this. At the same time, you need to find the best methods that you can hold on to for a very long time as you continue to learn and evolve around this relationship side of things. So you must understand that all this effort, acknowledge the effort. Please recognize everything that you've been doing already. Appreciate each other's effort in trying to improve your communication. Sometimes one person is putting more weight than the other person, but please don't give up on yourselves. Continuously find a way to know how you can navigate some of the challenges in your marriage and relationship. And then you can also seek professional help. If you have tried it by yourselves, you can seek professional help. I also say be patient. Don't avoid having a conversation that can change the dynamic of your relationship. Avoid blame game. Try to be vulnerable, be empathic, be yourself in order to continuously do great things in your relationship as you communicate better. Set clear intentions, practice empathy, you know, explore different ways to build yourself up from a personal growth standpoint. And just do those little wins, okay? Celebrate and do those little wins, helping somebody at home, supporting them, communicating while you do your work and all that. This is important. And above all, prioritize your relationship because your relationship, your marriage is greater than you. So that is why it's good to give it a rapt attention if you want to build a relationship that lasts, a relationship that can change the dynamic of your marriage. Give it time. Continue to practice. Continue to speak with kindness. And then see the relationship change to a better place. Though it takes time, but it will always come to pass. So, this is why I just want to encourage you this evening that building communication skills in your marriage will take quite some significant amount of your own time from the place of practice. You have to practice, you have to practice, you have to practice, you have to practice, you have to practice. This is very, very important. That is how you get better in communicating with your spouse and making things to change. Okay. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. But I just want to see if there's any question or can we have some comment on the chat box? Okay. Let's see. Thank you. Absolutely. I love this. So, Tite said most people don't know that communication is a skill that should be learned in marriage. Some people say, I was born this way. This is how I am. But your words are so rude. Your words are so disrespectful. Your words are hurting the woman, hurting the man. Your words are not even helping you as a person. Why do you keep hiding under your weaknesses by saying, this is how I am? If you don't like me like this, leave me. You married me like this. You are with me like this. All those are just excuses of someone that is not growing or someone that does not want to grow. The way you are is not good in the marriage. Then why don't change it? Why not do something about it? So this is very, very important point that we need to note as well. Awesome. So see to have, okay. So I'm just gonna give you 1 or 2 minutes um to see if you have any question that you want to ask in relation to what we have discussed. Okay, let's see if there's any question here. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Beyond Braid. Incredible and amazing lady. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Highs Oga. Highs the children. I believe they're all doing so well. So thank you so much for joining me today. And please, let's share this video with friends and families. Let's let them know. You can put it on different WhatsApp group, your status. It could just help somebody work on their own relationships. Marriage communication skill is learnable. So whether you know it or you don't know it, you can grow in it, you can be better in it, and it will change the dynamic of your marriage and relationship. Okay? So I want to say thank you so much and I appreciate your time today. And I hope we'll meet very shortly. God bless.